Where'll you be going?
Texas?
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Go on, make it happen.
And now here's Steve and Michelle.
Welcome from the heart of Dripping Springs. We are Mallet and Michelle, hosted by me, Michelle Lewis, and Steve Mallet.
And Drooling Michelle. Welcome to the show.
I'm only drooling because I got too much Botox on the lower half of my face. So
Just the thought of getting Botox makes me cringe.
I'll pay for it if you go get Botox. I just want to see
Are you
you do
saying
it.
I need Botox?
I'm going to leave my opinion to myself. I'm just saying.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to our sponsors, M. Elliott Studio,
Capital Farm Credit,
Nomic Power Solutions.
said
I
it
said it
right.
right.
And Mallet Integrity Team.
Absolutely.
Hey, our guest today, Travis Tindol from the Hayes City Store, which is probably one of my favorite all-time restaurants.
And Taste on
Good
Main
chicken
and Buda.
sandwich. Oh, that's right. Taste on Main and Buda.
Yes.
Yep.
And we actually recorded Travis earlier because he was going to be in Mexico for a tequila tasting. He's in Mexico. Yeah. So yeah, that's why we're a little out of sorts today, are we not?
Yeah, well,
Always.
there's so much going on in our lives right now. We 27 balls up in the air, but we're doing it.
We're doing it.
It's
We're doing
happening.
it. We're doing it.
Hey, when we had on Dr. Saxon, episode 124, we were talking about, just for a brief moment, we talked about sunscreen, and I'm going to play what she said when we had her on.
Okay.
Are not only helpful, but can be harmful. I've even had people tell me, oh, the sun is really great for your skin. I'm not going to wear sunscreen. Well, that's probably the worst thing that you could possibly do.
Well, because
So there's a myth going around. And
TikTok.
TikTok. And before I say that, I want to shout out to Dee Marsh, who's one of our best fans, greatest fans, and just lie on the air and say, Dee, I love social media. Because she gives me hell every time I say I hate social media. But there's a TikTok trend going around about that sunscreen causes cancer.
So you know where that comes from.
I do. There was one sunscreen brand that came out that contained traces of this benzene. Benzene, yeah. And benzene is known to cause cancer. It was recalled, but out of that one incident, it's not all sunscreens have benzene in them. People on TikTok started saying sunscreen causes cancer.
I'm going to throw some water on your only one ingredient, okay? Because my daughter is an esthetician. She's in that world. And I kind of did a little deep dive into sunscreen. And I don't know if you... A deep dive.
I did a deep dive. Well,
Like
I didn't do a very deep dive.
I obviously care about my skin a lot. And
Mrs.
actually,
Botox?
no, I actually used crappy sunscreen this weekend, and my entire face broke out. Because I used crap. I didn't use the mineral sunscreen like I was supposed
do
to.
and not wear it.
Well, and then that's why you're going to have surgery again on your face.
Probably am. I'm actually going to the dermatologist to have her look at like 12 spots on my head.
That is why. So, okay, so sunscreen just inherently is recommended for everyone 6 months and older, right? But American sunscreen is... The formula is...
Whose story is this?
It's both of our...
Go ahead.
The formula is decades old or obsolete.
I did read that it has not changed since I think the 50s when they first came out with it.
Yeah, so yes and no. In 1999, the FDA approved... how did I say this? It's been since 1999 that the FDA has approved any new active ingredients. But I think it was like in 2011 was when they made that SPF change.
To recommend SPF 30.
Yeah, because I think sunscreens were saying, you have unlimited sun exposure. And so they made stricter labels. But the biggest thing that I was deeper diving into was when I went to Europe. The European sunscreen is far superior. And obviously the Korean sunscreen, Japanese sunscreen, the Asian sunscreen.
There's a lot of things in Europe because our government tends to well, geez, there's a rabbit hole. The FDA is funded by private corporations that sell those products, but they're not as regulated, and there isn't as much influence from private companies to have those products be a certain way. So they're freer in Europe to innovate in some cases.
In U.S., sunscreen is regulated as an an over-the-counter drug.
Yes.
In Europe, it's regulated as a cosmetic, and so it doesn't require human data testing.
Okay.
Or and there's pros and cons with that, right? But Europe has.
But we're not even allowed in this country to have the European sunscreen. Says Michelle.
Says my suitcase full of stuff that I brought back.
My story really is about the power of social media to have people believing things that are not true. So some of the things that came out of that, first of all, there are people on social media now saying that, and Dr. Saxon said it, that the sun does not cause skin cancer.
Yeah,
and
that's
it
correct.
has been proven for decades that it does. So if you're listening, too much sun exposure can cause skin cancer. Doesn't always cause it, but it definitely can. There are some other things that apparently in Tom Brady's book from 2017, he said he thought that if he drank large amounts of water, he wouldn't get sunscreen on the field. So now there's a TikTok trend that you don't need to wear sunscreen because sunscreen causes cancer. But if you drink lots of water, you can go out in the sun and you won't get sunburned.
Okay. I'm curious to know in what context did he put that in? Because
and I looked for it and I didn't find that. And so you're probably right. That is probably out of context. But whoever puts it on TikTok just says Tom Brady in his book said if he drank lots of water, he would not get sunburn. And that's what is on TikTok. This one, TikTok.
TikTok.
The one lady that posted that says skin cancer is caused by sunscreen got over 1 million views on TikTok. That's a lot of people that saw something that is absolutely not true.
Well, sunscreen is expensive, and the newest thing that they recommend is the mineral sunscreen because it's gentler on your skin. It's actually more effective and it lasts longer. And like for me, who have like extremely sensitive skin, it reflects the UV lights versus the chemical sunscreen like copper tone or whatever. That's chemical sunscreen that absorbs. And the UV lights is what ages our skin. And then the difference between the Europe
You
and
have done a deep dive.
well, because I'm as a female, I wear sunscreen every single day, even in the winter time. And if I don't, I get yelled at by Kindle because I have had a couple of little basal cells.
yeah.
So, but Europe has 29 approved UV filters and US only has 16. And then there's like the UVA light. Europe has 9, US has 4, but Europe has something that they just came out with. It's called a filter or a new ingredient called Triabsorb, and it covers the blue light. It's the blue light filter because we're inside a lot, and like my blue light glasses and stuff. It just, I don't know, sunscreen. I've seen that, and I didn't fall for it, but I was like, oh well, maybe I don't have to wear sunscreen as much because
I'll drink lots of water.
I'll drink lots of. I'm not drinking water.
Yeah.
I don't. Well, here's water.
I'll wrap this up. There's a couple things I want to point out. There's some people that said if you use sunscreen, it will cut down on your vitamin D absorption. And there is actually a trend in this country that people need more vitamin D because we spend so much time inside, I think. But that if you are worried about that, the sunscreens do not cause that. It reduces it a little bit, but you still get vitamin D. And the other part is you don't put sunscreen on every part of your body, so there are parts that will get exposure.
Do you wear sunscreen when you run in the morning?
If I am going to be outside for long periods of time, yes, I do. But I'm usually done by the time the sun is really at a point where you have to worry about it. So I don't do that. But SPF, it's that time of year. SPF 30 and up is what you need. And if you're really worried about sunscreen, you can go back to that old white zinc oxide, which will completely block out the sun. It will decrease your vitamin D absorption. But if you're trying not to get skin cancer, that may be the way to go.
So have you seen the picture of the truck driver that was like he had both of his arms? He's driving like this.
He had one arm that was all... Because he rests it on the windowsill.
So just because you run during the morning hours when the sun's not out doesn't mean that you're not covering yourself up like a nun when you're like by your window or walking to your car or something. You're still getting the exposure. So you still need.
I'll tell you, I think for me, I've had some basal cells removed. For me, what is going to get me and has been getting me is that when I was a kid, I would go out and surf for 6 hours in just a pair of trunks and no sunscreen, no rash guard, and I'd come home and I couldn't even sleep because my back was just
we've talked
lobster
about that.
red. Yeah.
How did you remedy that? Like when you were super red, what would you put on it?
My aloe vera,
the plant, or just
the plant.
Yeah,
I'd
that's
actually
what we
cut
did
the
too.
plant, and it does help. Or I'd take massive amounts of pain pills to get over that. But I always thought that if I got sunburned a couple times, my skin would tan and bronze, and then I wouldn't get sunburned anymore, which is actually true. But I think that's because the outer part of your skin is so damaged it doesn't burn anymore.
Yeah, probably. I mean, growing up down near the beach, the valley, and in Corpus, you can probably ask Holly about this. We would lather up with baby oil.
Yeah, it's one of the worst things you could do.
Yeah, full lather up. I never was a tanning bed person though.
Yeah, I've never done that.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't do a tanning bed, but yeah. So that was
sunscreen. Wear sunscreen.
we're coming up on Memorial Weekend, so yeah, you need to use some sunscreen. You're running a triathlon.
I'll put some on the triathlon on Monday, and I'll let you know how that goes next episode.
Hey, speaking of social media, have you?
Which I love, by the way.
I'm sure.
Social media is so great.
Have you seen or heard about the man versus? I can hear you swallowing all the way over here.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I leaned away from the mic. I tried to lean away.
Have you heard of the man versus
I
bear
have.
theory?
My dear friend Tiffany pointed this out to me when we were running a couple weeks ago. And so go ahead, tell me your story. And
Okay,
I'll tell
so it's the idea is
man versus bear.
Man versus bear. If as a woman, if I am in the woods, and am I trapped in the? Would I rather be trapped in the woods with a bear or with a man?
A strange man, a man you don't know.
A strange man. And TikTok users over and over and over again are choosing the bear because they say that he's deemed less dangerous than the man.
We should pull some YouTube videos up of grizzly bears fighting because that is just so stupid.
Okay, first off, I think it's this generation's idea of looking for things to be outraged and pissed off about all the time.
And of making all men seem evil and
Toxic
masculinity. Yeah. And there's a political theme there too. They're further trying to divide. So what that's telling you is if you're a young woman, never, ever, ever be around a strange man. Okay, be aware, but not all men are predators. That's what that's trying to prove is that all men deep down, if they're in the woods with you, they're all predators, which is bullshit.
Most definitely, there are legitimate threats out there, but I really think it's how they're crucifying this Kansas City Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker, who is a devout Catholic who is at a Catholic college speaking to Catholic people about his Catholic beliefs, and then on the flip side, you have P. Diddy, who a video was released the same week of him beating the crap out of a girlfriend.
That was horrific.
So look. I think the bigger question is how are we as mothers and parents raising our boys, number one. And, the argument was, well, even men should choose the bear. Even the men out there, if they're in the woods.
Seriously?
Yeah. And so, look, I'm married. I've been married 31 years. I've raised good men.
Your husband Todd's take on this was, I think, the most appropriate. Go ahead and tell us what he said.
Well,
he was saying that you would rather be in the woods with a man because a man's instinct is to
protect a woman. Yes,
a woman.
Yeah. The fight or flight.
Obviously, there are some predators out there that are not like that. But anybody that was raised right, and I think there's millions and millions and millions of men in this country that were raised right, would say, hey, we're both stuck out here. Let's work together, or let me protect you, or let me help us. Let's get together and protect each other. Not think, oh, this is an opportunity for me. That's a scumbag, and it's rare.
I get it. And then, 1 in 3 women will face some sort of assault in their life. And so as a man and a woman, so we have, ironically enough, we're on the same side of this, but a man being in the woods in that scenario, I heard a couple arguments about this. Men have a fight or flight response or thought, right? Women, their things are, okay, survival, bear versus man. Who am I going to survive against?
Right.
What's the intention? The bear wants to hunt, wants food. The man is unknown, right? And so then you also have to, can you outsmart the man? Can you outsmart the bear? I believe in my heart of hearts, Steve, and I will believe this. And I've had scary things happen to me.
Sure.
I've had scary things happen to my daughter. I have a daughter. I have daughter-in-laws, but I believe in my heart of hearts that men are inherently good, and they're not predators.
Yes, agree. You have to go through life like that, knowing that is not true all the time. I'm going to go back to what Tiffany said because I thought this was really profound. If you're in the woods with a man, and the man is a good man, and they're strangers, the woman doesn't know that.
Yes.
And the woman will be afraid. So the man needs to be aware that whatever interaction, the woman will be coming from a place of fear. And so that should determine how you interact. So if you're in the woods and say there's a woman camping by herself and you're a man and you don't know her, you don't just rush into her camp and go, hey, how's it going? You have to assume, hey, can I come into your camp? Maybe I don't know exactly how that dynamic is, but I think it's important for good men to know that in those situations, women will be probably at least concerned, if not afraid. And you have to approach that situation very delicately.
Yeah, I agree. I just, I'm going to go back to where I said I really think that this generation, like sunscreen and, whatever it is, I just think that they literally search and seek out things to be pissed off about. And I'm Gen X. Don't make me come out of retirement. Don't make me.
The worst part about all that for me, and when Tiffany told me about that the first time, my thought was that was probably a focus group that came up with that because they wanted to make political points and they wanted something that went viral, both of which they achieved. The political points are to try and make all men look like they're monsters.
Scumbags, yeah.
Yeah, and it went viral. We're talking about it on our podcast. So let's talk about something a little more fun.
Yeah, and don't swallow in your water. Don't, wait,
Michelle.
that came off awful. Don't swallow your water.
Michelle, jeez. We'll be right back after this.
Okay, say what you were going to say.
Oh my gosh.
My
Okay.
face is red.
Cut this part out. Okay.
Too late. It's live.
All right. Further proof that remote work does not work.
Oh, we found that out.
Yeah. Companies are estimating that there are about $375 billion a year in online sales, so online retail sales that happen from people while they are in the workplace being paid to work. So $375 billion.
So people are sitting at their office or their desk.
Yes. Sitting at your desk and you get an email from REI and it says, sleeping bags are on sale.
That's
and you
you.
go, it is me. Yes,
you.
it is. It is me. But I'm the boss. I pay myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. This would be employees sitting at their desk and they go, oh, I've got to get one of those sleeping bags. And so while they're working, they order that and then they go back to work. I was kind of thinking about this and my first reaction was, wow, man, these employers are being taken to the cleaners. And then I thought, it's one thing if you are sitting on your computer shopping for 3 hours while you're supposed to be working. Like if you were, obviously, I pay you to come and run our office. If you, yeah, right. If you were sitting at your desk and you got an email and you thought, oh, I need to order that real quick, and you took 3 or 4 or 5 minutes and you ordered it, I don't care. That doesn't bother me at all.
I think I probably have done that, but I've never just sat there and like full on browsed for stuff. I have too much freaking work to
yeah,
do.
exactly. Yeah. Well, but there are people that are paid hourly and they work from home and there's no oversight and they, they're kind of, they maybe have a project and the project's due in 2 weeks. So the boss doesn't know if they took an hour shopping on Amazon for whatever. So I don't know how I feel about this is if it's necessarily a bad thing, but companies have noticed. And if you pay attention now, it used to be marketing emails from companies went out in the morning or in the evening because they thought, oh, well, people aren't at work and that's when we'll get them. Well, now most companies are sending them between 10 and 1. And the most effective time to send them out is between 10 and 1 on Friday. Because, Friday's like one of those days where you're sort of like, ooh, it's almost the weekend. I'm going to play around a little bit. I'm going to, casual Friday. And they get more sales on Friday between 10 and 1.
That's interesting.
I think it's an interesting trend.
Do you think the shopping trend is this generation's new smoke break? Because,
that's a good point.
When I started in the workforce in the early 90s, I remember thinking, and I never smoked cigarettes, right?
Yeah.
It was gross. My parents smoked. I hate it. We smell, we look, it's gross. I thought that's BS that these people get to go take 15, 20 minutes.
That's why I started smoking when I worked on a golf course in high school. It's true. It's because I was like, it's because if those guys got a break every half an hour to go smoke a cigarette, if I went and stood with them and wasn't smoking, my boss would yell at me, Mallet, what are you doing? Well, I'm just taking a little break. Well, you don't get a break, but you could take a cigarette break. And so yeah.
I'm taking a shopping break.
I'm taking a shopping break.
That's what I'm doing.
What? We only got about 2 minutes and then we got to cut away, but how often do those marketing emails, I started thinking about this, how often do you buy things from those emails that you don't really need or want?
I have these really cool new headphones and they go over your ear. And Judy, I lost one yesterday. I found it in the parking lot because I went to go get something on my car. And Judy was like, oh my gosh, those look really expensive. Where'd you get those from? I said, TikTok shop. And
they were $12.
They were $24. She was, they look really expensive. And then we got these new rugs for the Airbnb. And you
TikTok.
go, why did I have this charge on my credit card from TikTok shop? And I was like, I bought the rugs. And you're like, why did you buy them from TikTok? I was like, trust me. Yeah. And so maybe that I have bought several things from TikTok and from Instagram.
Yeah, but I guess what I was trying to say is sometimes I'll get an email and I think, oh, that's really cool. I got to order it. And then I don't necessarily do it from an email, but I do it from, I'm highly influenced. I am highly influenced. And the other thing I've noticed for me, and then we'll take a break and get Travis Tindol in here, is a lot of times I go, oh, I really want that. And then I order it. And then when it comes in the box is sitting on the front porch, I'm like, man, why did I order that?
What is it? What is the dollar amount where it's worth for you to have to go return it? Like if it's over $20 or under $20?
I would say $100 for me.
If it's under $100?
If it's under $100.
You're going to just keep it.
Yeah.
If it's over 100, you'll be like.
Actually, no, it's probably more like 50. I don't know. I haven't thought about that, but I do. I've seen myself go, we're buying a bunch of camping gear because we're going backpacking in July. And I have been real excited to order it. And then when it comes in the box, I'm like, yeah, sleeping bags here.
You know what I do though is when we watch movies, I get on Shein, which is really.
Is that like Temu?
Yeah, very similar. And I'll just sit there and I just scroll, and I add stuff to my cart, and then I forget that stuff's in my cart. And
actually,
then I get
that might be fun.
I get a big box, and I paid like $8 for something, and I'm like, it's $8.
Shopping in China.
I don't care. Yeah.
Hey, let's take a little break and get Travis Tindol from the Hayes City store and the.
What?
What restaurant?
Oh, Taste on Main.
Taste on Main.
Yeah.
So we've recorded this one already. Super exciting guy. So sit tight. We'll be. Oh, Michelle's got something else.
We also, this was the first time we went Instagram Live.
Instagram Live. So get on our Instagram and you'll see
Michelle saying, "Don't swallow."
Yeah, and all the cursing that happens before we record. So, okay, we'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Are you tired of being left in the dark when the power goes out? Say goodbye to blackouts with Nomic Power Solutions.
As your full-service Generac dealer, they offer individually designed backup power solutions.
From start to finish, they've got you covered.
Nomic Power Solutions, keeping you powered up.
Call or text 512-387-4232 or visit nomicpower.com. Follow on Instagram at Nomic Power for updates.
Nomic Power Solutions. Protect your home, protect your family, stay ready. Proudly sponsored by
At Capital Farm Credit, they understand that owning land is more than just a transaction. It's a legacy, a future, and a place to call your own.
For generations, Capital Farm Credit has been the trusted lending partner for land loans, farmers, ranchers, and rural dreamers just like you.
Their personalized loan solutions cater to your unique needs, making the journey to land ownership smoother than ever.
Capital Farm Credit, your land, your legacy. Visit capitalfarmcredit.com or Mark Rutledge at 512-892-4425.
Capital Farm Credit, an equal credit housing lender.
Interior design should be an investment in your life and home. Let M. Elliott Studio transform your space, where interior design meets excellence in Central Texas.
Beyond just selecting colors and furnishings, team principal and owner, Montana Elliott, is a trained and licensed interior designer.
With her knowledge of architectural principles, building codes, space planning, and design theory, her team will work with you to understand your needs and lifestyle.
From concept to completion, M. Elliott Studio is committed to enhancing your space with a timeless and classic style.
Ready to redefine your space?
melliottstudio.com, 512-781-0224.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Mallet Integrity Team of real estate professionals. They are based in Dripping Springs and bring you over 45 years of combined experience helping people reach their hill country real estate dreams. When you want the best in town, call them at 512-829-2062 or look them up at malletintegrityteam.com. And now, here's Steve and Michelle.
And we're back with Travis Tindol of the Hayes City Store and Taste on Main in Buda. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I'm excited. A little nervous, but
First time
excited.
podcaster.
Yeah, first
that's
time.
Great.
I've been a big fan of you since your Flores days.
That was
10 years ago,
Yeah,
almost,
10 years-
right?
10 years
That's
ago.
crazy. So for those of you that don't know, Travis used to be the general manager of Flores when they first opened out here. How long had you been with them?
I started. Well, let me see. It was probably September, October of 2009.
Oh,
So I think they had been there a year. I think
wow.
they opened in 2008, I believe.
yeah. So you were there a long time, but
From
then
09 to New Year's Eve on 2014.
You know what's funny? I was trying to think the last time I was at Flores might have been about the time you left. It's been a while. I mean, it's a great restaurant.
Yeah. It
is.
It's
It
been
is.
a while.
well, Steve's like a serial killer. The way Steve eats,
Yeah.
he eats the same thing at the same place every
You
single
know what you like,
time.
right,
Yeah,
Travis?
exactly,
You know what
exactly.
you like. You know it's going to be good. You get it.
Serial killer.
How many of your customers do that? When they come in, you go, oh, there's chicken fried steak and whatever, hamburger with no cheese.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we know what you are. You're a chicken. You're a chicken man for sure.
I would, I've never thought about it that way, but I would say probably half and half.
Is that right?
There's some people that will come in and say, "What's your special tonight?" And I want to try something. They're adventurous.
That's me.
Yeah, not me.
And then no, not Steve. So okay, so you're here in Dripping Springs. You and your wife Tamara, you live in Beeville. I mean not Beeville. You live in Driftwood, but you came from Beeville. You grew up in Beeville.
Yes,
like
ma'am.
You're a South Texas boy at heart.
Travis, don't call her ma'am.
Oh yeah, no. And your grandfather and your dad were both kind of in this industry a little bit, right?
They were Anheuser-Busch distributors in Beeville, between Corpus and San Antonio. My Tindol side of the family grew up in Live Oak County in George West, which is about 20 miles west of Beeville.
Yeah, it's the speed trap town.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know exactly where that is.
So, and then in 1960 they moved to Beeville, and my grandfather opened a beer distributorship, and it was at first for the old timers it was Jack's beer out of New Orleans. So the Jackson
really?
Brewery, they called Jack's, and so when my dad he graduated in '65, so from 1960 to 1968, my family was the Jack's distributor in Beeville, and then Anheuser-Busch approached my grandfather, and in '68, my dad was going to college in Uvalde, and to take over the Budweiser distributorship. So my grandparents went to Uvalde and talked with my mom and dad and said, hey, if we're going to do this, I'm going to need your help. And so my mom and dad moved back to Beeville, and they started the Tindol distributing.
So nobody in your family came from the restaurant business?
No, actually, I was the first one to delve into the restaurant business. And my wife's side, her grandmother had a cafe in Crystal City.
Okay.
And so, Tamara was washing dishes when she was 7 or 8.
She's probably seen this sort of business model that you have for Hay City Store. Is that right?
Yes,
Maybe?
sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what drew you to the restaurant business in the first place?
This always sounds weird, but if you participated in extracurricular activities or sports, once my family sold the beer business, I was looking for something to do, but I played sports all my life. And that competitive nature. And when I got into the restaurant industry in 1998, a Friday night, and I explained this to our staff. The adrenaline of a Friday night or a Saturday night in a restaurant is like a game night.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's packed. There's so much going on.
You're in the weeds.
Yeah. But when you knock it out of the park and your staff and yourself, as a server or a bartender, and everybody's leaving and high-fiving and hugging you, hey, great job. We'll see you next week. And all that hard work and all that sweat and tears, just stress of but it's all worth it when the guest leaves and you're like, yeah, we just got our butt kicked, but man,
they were happy.
They were happy.
Enjoyed their meal, and they got good service,
right.
And they complimented people when they left. That's really
Where
cool.
was your first job in '98?
Well, let me before I go back to that, and then also when you have the bad nights. It's like watching game film. It's like, okay, what did we do wrong?
Yeah.
What we need to assess? What did we do? Where did we do right? Where did we do wrong? Sorry.
No,
that's good.
And so it's.
Give me an example of that. What, like, if you're saying, okay, what did we do wrong? What kind of stuff goes wrong that you guys have to try and fix?
It could be as simple as not ordering enough or not prepping enough, or somebody calls out and then you're having to sub, and it's basically just not being prepared.
Yeah.
And then, or say a reservation, say like you have a group of 20 or 30 coming in at Hay City and you're trying not to leave tables open too much, but then also if you have somebody there that's been there 3 hours, and they've spent money and time with you, and you don't want to say, hey, can you be respectful for the people behind you, but that's the hard conversations.
How do you
because
navigate that? I always wondered about that because my wife and I try and be respectful of that, but we want to kind of relax for a few minutes after we eat. How do you handle that? If somebody sits there for an extra hour and a half after they ate and they're done, they paid their bill, do you just kind of let it go?
Depends on, if it's
half the table's empty.
Half the table, a lot of times it'll be sports teams or something that you got multiple families coming in and they've come from a tournament or celebration or graduation or something. And then, we'll just ask them, hey, can you combine, say like if it started out at 30 and now they're down to 10, hey, could can we use these two tables? And, because they really understand it also, because if they're the ones behind, waiting, looking at you and say, hey, nobody's sitting there. Can we, but every situation is different.
There's a lot of moving parts in the restaurant business.
I think when I was going back to like where your first job was in '98, and now I'm looking at, like, I waited tables, and I know you know this place, Water Street Oyster Bar.
Oh yeah,
Brad Lomax was one of my absolute favorite people. I loved working for that man, and he taught me a lot about hard work, front of the house, back of the house. It didn't matter where you were. If I was waiting tables and somebody's standing up at the front, I'm now the hostess. And if nobody was there to run food, I'm now the food runner. Whatever it is, you pitch in where you need to pitch in. But I'm starting to see, or I think, and I know there's a lot of huge exceptions to this rule, but this generation gets a bad rap for being lazy and not my job, right? It's the not my job generation. And it's like they are told they don't think outside of the box for the most part. It's like, okay, so my job is to take care of tables, 1 through 4. And if somebody else that's not my table is sitting there with, needs to be pre-bussed or iced tea or something, it's like, no, this whole restaurant, these are your tables. So do you find that where you're having to have these conversations where kids or like, young adults, right? You're like, come on, man. Like this is...
Yes, there are some opportunities for those conversations, but it's what I've learned over the years. It's once you teach them the why and not just, hey, do what I say, but it makes sense to them once, and I agree with you, Michelle. They do kind of get a bad rap, but also this area is so great of, teaching their kids work habits and stuff.
Yeah.
My wife worked in Austin for, 20 years, Z Tejas, Roaring Fork, and Salty Sow, and she was dealing with a lot more, probably on average, maybe 5 or 6 years older, staff than what we deal with out here.
Established Austin too, right? Like established Austin versus now. Do you guys split your duties up, you and Tamara? Like, are you like back of the house, she's front of the house, or you guys are just kind of constantly interchangeable?
Constantly interchangeable. We've got a great staff at both restaurants, but, just always assessing and always trying to strive to get better. But my point was going back to and kudos to the parents in Hays County because, it was when Tamara, so she was so worried about, being able to get staff out here. And I said, hey, there's a lot of great families and a lot of good, hardworking kids. And, and then she got to just start doing interviews and it was yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And she wasn't used to that coming out of Austin. And she was like, I really like this. I can get used to this real quick. Yeah. And, that's a testament to the parents out here, and the communities and a lot of our employees are first time employees, but they've been with us for 6, 8, 9 years. We've seen them graduate high school. We've seen them graduate college and they're still with us, part-time and they're getting into their, real world jobs. Yeah. But, we've got flight attendants that'll come in and still bartend, cool. And we kind of feel like second parents. And
well, so you did a couple things. You hired right, and then you trained them right, and then you lead them right. So actually 3 things.
Who used to work there is 2 people, but Jacob, my son-in-law, worked there. And when Jacob first started working there, I was like, because, I waited tables for a long time and I knew like each table was a different personality. And Jacob is such an introvert. Yeah. Right. And I was wondering how that was going to work out. But then I saw the progression of Jacob. Like he got it. Right. It was almost like what you were saying, that on the job training. And then Kendall's best friend, Grace, I think she still kind of works there every now and then. And Grace worked there. And I was thinking the same thing. I was like, how is this little scatterbrain going to figure this out? And she did. She figured it out. So it is kind of you're kind of mom and dad to all these kids where you're having to train them up.
Travis, when you... do you sometimes like throw the kid in the pool? Like you go, okay, here's what you're doing now. Go and do it. And then you kind of let them fail their way through it? Or do you kind of watch them really hard in the beginning? It's
a little like teaching or coaching. And that's where we learn every day, every year that, hopefully we're getting better as owners, is that, being able to, it's not one size fits all, you knowing the personality, knowing, the body language, the characteristics, and, and some of them will take to it right off the bat. Yeah. And then some, a lot of things are going through my head, and going back to, you know, the progression and seeing the maturity and the growth from these individuals, from, you know, when they're starting at 16 or 17 and then they're in college. And I really think everybody should work in the service industry, at least, you know,
100%,
you know,
yeah.
to know how to handle people, because people are great, but people can be mean.
Yeah.
You know, and
Especially
they
in
can be, and
restaurants,
they can
yeah.
be very mean to the youngest of the staff. And then, you know, when a manager or an owner comes up, it's a different attitude. You know, and you know, I've been on, you know, I've seen it, and you know, yeah, you've seen it, you dealt with it. You know, it's.
No, that's interesting to me. Have you ever had somebody in the restaurant that was so mean you had to ask him to leave?
Oh, well, I'm sure,
Well,
right?
see,
like
I've never
maybe.
been that, so I don't know.
You've never been mean?
I've been mean. I was mean just like a few minutes ago, Michelle. No,
we had a one. There's been a couple instances, but one that really sticks out to me and kind of still bothers me, that had a youth baseball team, and they were regulars and really great people.
Yeah.
You know, and I felt sorry for them because they came. I think it was a Sunday night, and they came from a long tournament. You know, and it was probably hot as heck all weekend long, and you know, and everybody's hungry, and they've got to get the kids at home, and you know, but we're on a long wait, and you know, and one of the moms is over asking our guests to say, "Hey, do you mind, you know, you two getting up and joining this other table so that we can sit our family down or sit our kids down?" And I saw that, and I was like, "Excuse me, ma'am. You know, let me do my job. You know, we're working. We're trying to get you sat.
Yeah.
But you know, this is not your
Right.
establishment. One, this is not your job. Two, and you know, and the body language of the couple that was asked to move was not
That would
good.
have really bothered me.
I know. And so I was like, you know, and so I got on the lady, and I was like, who do you think you are to be able to just tell people, you know, you know, and then some of the dads were getting mad. I'm like, hey,
Yeah,
you know,
you're trying
let
to-
me know where you work, and I'm going to come in and I'll be there Monday, and I'll start doing the same thing and see how you like
We've
it.
had scenarios like that. Like I remember when I waited tables, and you know, we would get down. Like let's just say, you know, there was a big table, and it was just this this kind of sitting outlier, and they're sitting there, and you would go over and we'd say, "Hey, we will comp your appetizers, we'll comp your drinks, but you know, we have a big, and if you don't want to do it, that's fine. But if we could we just move you right here, and
that would be much better received by me than somebody that just
some
walked in the door.
random
Hey,
mom.
do you mind moving over there just because
because you're insignificant.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking about mean people. I remember I wanted to ask you about famous people coming into the restaurant, and you know, Water Street Oyster Bar in Corpus, that was like the
that
restaurant.
was the spot, yeah.
And there was this one time, the wrestling tournament and the orchestra got out at the same time, and I waited on Ric Flair. And Ric Flair came up to me. He wanted all these drinks at the same time. And he came up to me at the bar, and I noticed him, and he wanted his drink. And he was like, I need my other drink. And at this point, I'm an 18-year-old smart aleck too, but I'm a 53-year-old smart aleck now.
Yes, you are.
But I'd had it with him, and I was like, listen, you're going to turn around. You're going to sit down at your table, and I'm bringing you your beer when I bring it. He was like, yes. And it was the biggest tip I ever got, ever. And so I think, like, how do you handle like these big personalities? Like, you know, if there is, you know, a Ric Flair or let's say a George Clooney or somebody walking in your restaurant, how do you manage the chaos to kind of keep them and let those people have the enjoyable experience?
One, try to make sure that they're not on center stage.
Don't put them right in front of the table, right in front of the door.
Unless they want to be, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, some people do and some people don't. You know, just listening, you know, seeing exactly what they want. You know, we had, during COVID things, we had an opportunity to, Paul Simon,
oh, nice.
and Edie,
Brickell.
Brickell they were with Kevin Fowler, and they were going to buy Kevin's spot. So we actually sat him inside, and then that way just kept him out of the way. And we weren't even seating inside, but we made a table for him so they could, you know, just have dinner together. And great people, very nice.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Any other celebrity names you want to drop?
Oh,
Michelle
there's
Lewis,
been.
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just.
Yeah. Who else, Travis?
Oh, let me think.
I would think that Driftwood Country Club over there, you're starting to get some celebrities.
Oh, I bet.
probably.
Yeah. That I don't know.
You're so busy sometimes. You probably have tunnel vision, right? And
Yeah,
probably
sometimes
some of these young kids don't know who they are.
Yeah, that's the thing about Paul Simon. I was like, guys, you don't know who this.
Yeah,
guy,
this is royalty.
Let me pull up.
Yeah.
Let me pull up the 1 million people in Grand Central Park. It's like no, him and Simon and Garfunkel were huge.
Oh yeah, gigantic. Yeah. Did it's interesting to me when you thought about opening a restaurant? Did anybody tell you what the failure rate for restaurants is?
Plenty.
So yeah, I mean it's high. I think it's like 80% or something.
It's something. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe higher than that. So what did you think you were going to do differently to be successful?
Outwork everybody.
Oh,
There you go.
You know,
Outsmart. That's an out.
that's a cocky.
No, it's not.
But we didn't have a choice. It was like we just shoved all the chips in the middle of the table and was like, hey, sink or swim.
You're putting everything on the line.
Everything. And, I think we opened in March of 15, and I think our first day off was June of 15.
Wow.
So, but we wouldn't have had it any other way. I mean, still to this day, if we go out of town, there's, you're still checking cells and checking cameras and making sure everything's good and, everybody's doing their job. But it's just in our blood. Once you have a servant's heart, then it's come natural.
Yeah. Do you have a chef though, right?
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
We got multiple chefs.
But do you have a background in cooking?
No, I got a big background in eating. No, but we like to play in the kitchen at home, and so our first menu had probably 3/4 of our just Tamara and I's family recipes or things that we liked and influences from her family or my family and
or just cooking on a larger scale too. That's like like when you go to your favorite restaurant, you're like, oh man, I love this rice that they have, like this rice pilaf. And then I remember I got the recipe from Water Street, and it was like $4.50. I was like, okay, thanks.
6 pounds.
How do I cut it down to?
Let me get out the calculator here. Yeah.
Do you guys change the menu pretty often?
The specials,
we
right?
do. Obviously the specials, but we've been very blessed with our current. Brett Lancaster is our executive chef, and so it all kind of depends on how long your executive chef is with you. But we're always striving to get better. Then if we have somebody come in and see if we can tweak anything that we have on our menu or add something. Sometimes we'll add a menu to the item that was a special that was a big hit, and people will let us know. So
I'm always a fan when you do these big old steaks. I think one time I came in there and you did like a tomahawk steak or something. I can't remember what it, and it was like, oh yeah, and we can like feed 4 people.
Do you know what your best-selling menu item is?
Chicken fried chicken.
Chicken fried chicken. Well, it depends on the day. Probably over the year, top 3 is chicken fried chicken, chicken fried steak, and cheeseburger. And number 4 is a tie probably between the truck stop enchiladas and the fried shrimp.
Oh really? Okay.
I like Todd and I like the pizza with the it's the sweet one.
Have you had the chicken
the
sandwich?
bacon jam?
The bacon jam.
Yeah.
Oh, have I had the what? The chicken sandwich? No, I'm sure that you have 14,000 times.
She makes fun of me because I know all the best chicken sandwiches, and yours is right near
Yours
the top.
Oh, nice.
Travis, what do you say to people that say you're tough to work for?
I am tough to work for.
Good.
It's a good thing.
Yeah. But I think I'm fair. And at the end of the day, I expect a lot out of our coworkers. But my mentality has always been, even when I was at Flores, is like, I'm going to be right there with you. I'm going to help you. But at the end of the day, you're not going to be a slacker, you know, I mean, cause you know, if your teammates are having to pull your weight, then, you know, it's not fair.
Right. If you're in the weeds, I'm in the weeds.
Right.
We're all in the weeds.
We're all in the weeds together.
Yeah.
But let's, you know, help me out when I need it, and I'll help you out. That goes back to, you know, changing this, like, there's no, that's not my job. If you're clocked in, it is your job.
Yeah.
You know, and again, we've got great staffs at both restaurants, and they've bought into our vision, and our staff is usually the ones that weed out the slackers, you know, and we've brought people back on that were 16 and they didn't have a good work ethic, and now they're 18 or 19 and they've developed, and they've matured, and we're all about giving second chances, you know, because we've made a lot of mistakes.
Everybody.
You know,
can you imagine what I would get in trouble for when I was waiting tables? And you can
everything.
No, I was rolling silverware. I hated rolling silverware. Would
you steal somebody else's silverware and then turn it in and say,
no,
hey,
I would pay the dishwasher to roll my silverware, and he would do it. And then the dishwasher would get in trouble because he wasn't doing the dishes, but he was like, "But Michelle, she paid me $20." And I was like, I hated rolling silverware, but stealing other people's silverware was something to do.
What does that mean?
You'd have to roll 100 silverware before you could leave. You'd clock out, and I was like,
so somebody would come in and roll their 100, and you'd grab 20 and stick them in your
you'd be
stack?
like, a couple of little stacks, but everybody did it.
Yeah.
Not me. I wouldn't have done that.
You wouldn't have?
So
oh yeah.
Michelle.
Okay.
The staff must try and excel because they believe in the greater vision. So don't you think that if you're trying to give everybody that comes through the door a great restaurant experience, a great music experience, bar experience? So is that part of what you train these kids, is to see that it's not just about the rolling silverware, that is part of the whole
It's a small part of the bigger.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's you know, the needed or necessary evils that, you know, that's, you know, it's still a job, you know, I mean,
the bathroom
you know,
has to be clean. Somebody's got to do it.
That's what, one of the things that Brad Lomax, he's the owner of, you know, the Water Street Empire down there. And Brad, when he would come in, he would say, one of the things I want you to do in your section is I want you to sit down at every table, and I want you to see, I want you to look at the windowsill. I want you to look at the light. I want you to see what our customers are seeing. And this is your table. I want you to take ownership like it's your living room. And he would, you know, look at the salt and pepper shakers. Do they have food on them? Then wipe them off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you are serving these people. They're in your house right now, so serve them. And so that's the one thing that he taught me. It was like kind of controlling your space. Right. And he would go around and he'd plop his butt down too, and you'd be like, oh God, did I wipe something off or whatever? But I see that a lot with you, because whenever Todd and I visit Hay City, it's one of our favorite places to take out of town guests, because I feel like you get the full hill country experience with Hay City.
That's true.
And I feel like you are everywhere all the time. Like, I don't see you ever sitting. You're front, back, around, bar, we're everywhere.
It's so there's, you know, it's a big space, but you know, we always try to make time at the end to sit down and eat and have a couple of cocktails, but it's I mean, you got to going back to like what you said, Brad. I tell them it's almost like haircut or barbershop or beauty salon. It's like, hey, you're basically renting your booth or your chair, and, you know, because it's a reflection of you as a server. And sometimes they don't think about that. It's like, yes, it's a reflection of the restaurant, but anybody that's been in the service industry will, you know, they'll say, hey, well,
my food was
Michelle,
late.
Michelle's section, you know, is like, well, I look over two booths over and the floor is not messy. And, you know, it just little things of trying to open their eyes and not just all about them or their tips. The tips will be there, but you know, it's the little things, the attention to detail that, you know, we're always continuously coaching on that. You know, it's like, I know it doesn't make sense, but you know, trying to explain, going back to educating them and telling them the why, not just do it. And then that's where the light bulb goes on. They're like, oh, okay. Or they're like, well, try this. And then, you know, I'm telling you, it'll make a difference. And
You just mentioned tipping. There was, during COVID, it seemed like tips went really high. Like the average tip was 25-30%. Are you seeing that starting to settle now? Are people starting to tip a little bit less?
it's going back a little bit to the norm, but
it's gotten out of control a little bit.
But that's between the guest and the server or bartender. I want to brag on our clientele at both restaurants that, amazing people, generous, especially around the holidays. I mean, they're just, and taking care of our staff. And I mean, they've got their cell phone numbers and they're becoming friends,
Wow.
Well, it's those servers right there that are paying that close attention to detail and that are taking that, this is your domain and these are your guests.
And they care, they actually, they care about the guests, and it's not just here's Joe and Mary,
I think and you probably have heard people say this. I go into a restaurant and if I get really good service, like we went to a restaurant for our anniversary and I got exceptional service. I tipped her 50% because I was like, that was amazing. I think where people get a little bit sideways is they call in a burger and fries or a couple burgers and a couple fries and there's a 25% tip on there. They're going to go pick it up at the counter. That's
I think also it's like when you're, I've been seeing this trend like on social media where it's like if I'm walking up to a counter and ordering my food and they flip that iPad around on you and they're wanting that.
They want 20%.
They want that
20%. And the lowest one's 15%.
Yeah, and you're like,
what'd you do?
The lowest is 20%.
Yeah. So that, I guess that's where it is. I mean, is it still the same for servers? Like the $2.13 an hour, is that still the same? Why do you think that has never been changed for?
I don't know. That's a whole can of worms to, the way it's set up. And, I think, in some other countries, it's totally opposite.
But it's been like that. I mean,
I know.
for 30 something years, right?
Yeah. Ever since I've been in, since 98, it was, but I'm old school, so I don't know.
That's the minimum wage you can get as a server.
So
you can
get whatever. But that's like,
well, what's the $2.13?
That's what they get an hour. That's what most.
That's at the federal level. Yeah. So.
Okay. But then they get the tips on top of that. So that's only for your wait staff and your busing staff?
No, the busing staff.
Busing is at least minimum. So
okay.
And then there's like a lot of times there's, I don't know how it is with you guys, but a lot of times there's tip share, with the bartender or whatever else. You're giving a certain percentage to like the hostess. And then, like let's say you had a hostess that was phenomenal and they sat you great tables. Yeah, you're going to go take care of your hostess, even though you want it to be fair. But yeah, there's a rotation.
Yeah. So I've been to Hay City Store many times. Love it. I've not been to Taste on Main. So is it the same menu? Is it different?
No, it's a steak and seafood concept. We designed it to be come as you are. We wanted people to be able to celebrate anniversaries, birthdays, graduations, special events, but also to come if you've been playing golf or you were shopping at Cabela's or you're just going up and down Main Street. Yeah, exactly.
Was it designed specifically? I know it's on Main Street, but was it designed specifically to have more of an intimate feel versus Hay City? You're running into everybody, picnic tables and music and kind of kids running around. And this one's a little more
date night, intimate.
Yeah.
But also, we've got a lot of families that are bringing kids out, and we've got a kids menu. But we don't have a playground. We're not trying to make it just super, where the issues we deal with, where the kids are running around through the tables and trying to slow them down. Yeah.
Throwing rocks at the parked cars.
Are you doing a play area at Hay City Store?
Yes. We just got a net in between some of the oak trees on the backside of the ice house.
To catch the kids that try to run out to the street.
And so usually late at night, the staff will get in there and bounce around and they have fun. So but it's really great.
You've got some cool things there.
Well, I mean, there's going to be a new hotel right next to you. So the growth right there is tremendous, right?
Yes. At the roundabout, Travis and Vicky Cox they own the property there, and they had the liquor store, and then they sold it to the Sloans, and then they're doing a restaurant with the Cover 3 guys out of Austin, but they're not doing the sports bar. They're doing Whiskey Ridge. So I'm not exactly sure. I think it's going to be more like maybe steak and seafood. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they've nailed down their concept yet.
Steve and I, we talk a lot about the scarcity mindset in real estate. And do you want to?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a scarcity mindset, which is if Travis gets restaurant business, then my restaurant business suffers. And then there's the mindset of, there's plenty for everybody, which is, if the Hay City store is doing great and there's a restaurant opens across the street, you'll be more of a destination for people that are coming to eat, and both of you will do better.
Yeah.
And the scarcity mindset's terrible.
Lifting people up.
The pie is plenty big enough for everybody, and we can actually make the pie bigger, which increases how much money we all make. But as a business owner, it's terrible to have that scarcity mindset of if somebody else does better, it's only at my expense. And so that probably doesn't scare you to know that you're going to have a restaurant across the street.
We're excited.
Yeah.
It maybe sound weird, but one, I'm competitive, but two, it's going to make us better. Right. And I tell the staff is like, y'all have been so blessed to be so busy, and where I don't want our staff to take it for granted, and that's where the good ones are going to shine, right. and the tag-alongs are just going to, fall to the wayside.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to show up every day and be on, you've got to, you can't take a day off.
Leave your personal crap at the door.
Exactly. Yeah.
I could see a scenario where people come from a lot further away to come to that area, and maybe they'll do the Hay City store. Maybe they do the
park at one, and so everybody wins.
Yeah, or they go to they go to the Hay City store. Wow, it's a little bit longer of a wait. Let's go see what's over there, or vice versa. And,
exactly.
It could do well.
Or let's go have a nightcap, across the street, or
That's where you guys will be. What happened to the concept of opening something in Drip? Was it just too hard with historic? Because I think you were going to open up where the pig pen was, right? Is that where you guys were, right around there?
I mean, we've looked at multiple things, but the biggest thing, or two things, when we started working on Buda, it took us 31 months to get open. So that was.
Why?
Permitting,
you name it, everything.
Wow.
COVID, equipment, historical.
31 months.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. So
it's kind of like what Bill and Michelle faced over at Pigpen trying to open in that spot.
Took them years. Yeah.
But when we first looked at it, we started talking to some of the people at Beltour Village, and they was like, "Oh, we're having to overpay just to get people to come out from Oak Hill," and and I think, that's been what, 5-6 years ago, maybe more. So things have changed, but we're at the time it was just not having enough staff,
or worried about the potential of not having enough staff. Yeah.
Where it's and I think there's getting some more affordable housing in the Drip area, but
it's not
margins are tight. People think there's just making all this money, and it's no. You start dividing up that pie, it's like, okay, it starts going,
sure.
If you're single digits, so you're every dollar is important.
Yeah. You mentioned COVID. How hard was it to get through that time with COVID, with you guys not being able to serve people inside?
Oh, man, that was a roller coaster.
I bet.
But looking back on it, it was fun. We're very fond of it. It was because as a company we became closer, and we just. We all banded together. It's like, hey, we don't have a choice. We're not going down. And you're in late March, and you're thinking, well, how long is this going to happen? Is this the end of the world? What right, all scenarios. So we just kind of rallied the troops and say, hey, you want to stay home? Stay home. You want to come to work? Get up here and let's go. We opened from 12 to 8, 7 days a week. We closed inside. Put all the tables in the middle, and then we were doing pickup. There was people tailgating in the back parking lot, spread out, 20 yards, and it was stressful, but our goal was just to give people one bit of normalcy in this effed up world.
Yeah. And then they allowed Governor Abbott allowed to go
the
drinks.
best thing. Yeah. And so thank goodness that, but we were running 20 miles all directions. And that's when we realized, man, we got some great customers that got some amazing houses, and the staffs come back. Oh, this couple that sits over there, like, man, their house is just, I know which one you're talking about. It's like, but that was part of getting to know the people and making it personal and not just this, and so, it was stressful, but looking back on it, it's like it was a fun time because.
Aren't you glad you were in Texas versus California?
Could you imagine
or some of these other states?
And then we were blessed also because we probably wouldn't have made it if we didn't have outside space.
Yeah.
So, we measured everything. We were 6 feet apart. And,
which is so stupid in hindsight.
But you roll with the punches.
What you were supposed to. You were mandated to do this stuff.
There was a period of time where we didn't know. I mean, for all we knew, there were going to be zombies in the streets in 24 hours, But after a while, we were all like, okay, the 6 feet rule is stupid.
Yeah. We took it very serious. And then, but also to make the guests comfortable, so we'd have one picnic table and some people will, two top on one end and two top on the other end. And some people, they were like, nope, I don't want anybody. So we're like, okay, that's your call. So,
well, we talked about some of your best selling items. What was something that you put on the menu was an absolute flop? You're like, what were we thinking? Why did we do this?
Oh, maybe there isn't any.
I know, right?
We had a chef come in and she wanted to change our chili to turkey chili.
Oh, bless her heart.
And me and Tamara looked at each other and were like,
and put beans in it?
I'm sorry, but no, we're Texas comfort. That ain't, we're not in Austin. I just, I stubbornly stick to my guns sometimes on some things. Are like, no. I grew up in South Texas. If we're doing carne asada, we're doing it South Texas style. Yeah. We ain't doing, we're doing brown gravy. We're not doing this tomato, red. Like, no, I mean, there's some things like, no.
What's funny is when you said tomato gravy, when I make gravy, I make tomato gravy because that's how, even though I grew up in South Texas, but my grandmother grew up in North Texas. So that was their thing, tomato gravy. But, my kids love your gravy. They will pour gravy on themselves. You have some good gravy for sure.
It's the bacon grease. It's the healthy, gravy.
Healthy stuff. Yeah.
Travis, what are the challenges of working with Tamara, working with your wife?
Now it's wonderful.
Just be very careful the way you
answer. Yes. Tread lightly. For anybody couples that work with together, it was extremely, extremely hard the first year. Tamara would open up, and then I'd get there about 10, 11, and I would close, and so then she would be stuck on the expo and I'm running, doing the floor and we were the only two managers. And so then we would sit down to eat, and right before she went home, we'd sit down and go over a couple things, but then try to just be a husband and wife. And then, then she would go home and then I would close and then I'd go home and she'd be having a glass of wine, just relaxing and just kind of being a zombie watching the TV. And she'd probably not even watching what she was watching, whatever was on. Yeah. But, and then I'd come home and it's like, there was a couple of things I needed to talk to her about. She's like, can we just not talk about work? I'm like, I'm like, I know, babe, but we got to address it for tomorrow. And okay. And so that was the stressful part, because then I was like, I'm just sick of work right now. I just want to relax. And so trying to find that balance, I guess, of handling business, but then, being husband and wife. Right. And so that was, it was rough,
Yeah.
you know, and so it tested our relationship. But now I think we're better than ever.
Sounds like you're a little more on kind of not automatic or autopilot, but
Right.
things are running a lot smoother.
And so I mean,
you figured
we're
out a
able
lot
to
of your
afford other
systems,
managers that, you know, is like,
Yeah.
you know, and just, you know, but you know, it's kind of like you've been through war together. And so like, so it's like, exactly.
Travis, how much of the stuff, the products that you use are sourced locally?
Mm-hmm.
As much as possible. You know, but when you try to do everything, as we learned early on, you know, it's just trying to find that equal ground of, you know,
cost
you
over
can't,
quality, maybe?
right. And so then either your items are too high, but then you're sticking to your guns, trying to do everything local, but then the amount of vegetables and everything that you're using is almost impossible because it's not like you have an avocado farm, you know, in Henley, you know, and so, you know, it's, so trying to, you know, between, spirits and, anything local. I mean, like Richard's Rainwater, we were doing that, you know, and then, you know, and then kudos to them, you know, they got bought and, you know, hopefully they're doing well. And,
Did you replace that with something else?
No, we're still using it. But I mean, just, you know, as an example that, you know, we wanted to, you know, to give love to Richard's Rainwater.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, just as an example. But it just, sometimes even people that are offering it know that one, they can't supply that quantity and they're, you know, but we do when we can.
Yeah. I completely lost my train of thought, Michelle.
I have a question. So the original building you're in, it was Hayes City. That little area was Hayes City.
The history of the Hayes City store.
And so my understanding is the building originally opened in 1908. So do you have any like paranormal, like weird stuff that happens?
That convenience store opened in 86, but that intersection has been around. There was a lady.
There was a building. Yeah, there was a building.
So there was across the street, there was the Hayes City Hotel. There was a 2-story hotel. And I have a picture that everybody was on horseback and,
Marshall told us about that.
Yes,
right?
Yes. So actually, he's given me some information from his family files and also with the Hayes County Historical, which is a great group.
So the current building, 40 years.
So 1986.
Okay.
And so
you're just going to have people in neon leg warmers.
Yeah, exactly.
In sync or something.
Flash dance or whatever. So, but they were trying to make the Hayes City the county seat back in, I believe, 1908. And they were trying to get the railroad through there.
Yeah.
And there was multiple buildings there. What I'd like to do and work with the Historical Society for the county and the state is get a placard. Get a placard and get some information, you know, because I love history and especially Texas history. You know,
I would think that would be appropriate for that. For the store.
What are you technically? You're not in Driftwood because that's right past, right?
We're the last Driftwood address.
Well, look, one of our sponsors is Capital Farm Credit, Mark Rutledge. Yep. He's head of the Driftwood Historical.
Yes.
So that would be amazing. Maybe we hook the two.
You know, a funny story about Mark Rutledge. I knew him from Flores, and then come to find out that he grew up in La Pryor, and he was quarterback. And my brother-in-law, where he was the center.
Really?
Mark's a good guy.
So and so
Mark's a great guy.
So my wife's family grew up in Crystal City, and La Pryor was close to Crystal City and Carrizo, and so it's just a small world.
That is a small world.
And so,
Travis, did you get any downtime? Sounds like you really work a lot.
Yeah, he goes to Mexico for tequila tasting.
Yes, we've
that's work.
You know. we still do a lot of work, but it's different than when it was in 2015. We were on the floor 24/7, and now it's with 2 restaurants. It's more being a gopher and just trying to support both and whatever they need and supplies and construction or repairs, you name it. And people say, "Well, I haven't seen you in a while." It's like, well, I was here this morning and then I went to taste and then I'm back. But, so I that's the only thing I miss is that, we go eat at one restaurant. So then we don't see anybody in Driftwood, or we eat in Driftwood and we don't see anybody in Buda, but we were there at lunch. And so it's
where's your favorite place to eat? Not your restaurant.
Well, that's a great question.
Where's like your go-to for you and Tamara?
Oh man. Kind of depends on what it is.
Let's say Mexican food.
Mexican food, being close to San Marcos, I like Herbert's, and then I like Flores and Dripping. Let me see. We go to New Braunfels sometimes just to get
I like
different food.
Yeah.
We'll go into Austin, go to Eddie V's, or we'll go to Salty Sal.
Are you a judger when you go out? Are you like,
Or do you ever go to a restaurant?
You're judging 24/7.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you can't turn it off.
Yeah.
I mean, but
what
also
can they
that's
do better? Yeah.
But also it's like, yeah, there's some, but then there also is like, wow, they're doing great, and trying to steal, or say, hey, how can we take that
concept
and turn it into what?
Yeah.
How can we fit it into one of our concepts?
It's an R&D dinner.
Yeah.
Basically, right?
Yeah.
But it's fun. I mean, that's the great thing about going out to eat is it's not just fuel for the body. It's the experience. It's
And you can be creative. You can say, like you said, how do we make this wonderful food here, make it work in our restaurant?
Yeah,
make it our
that's the
own,
biggest
put our own
compliment
spin
of
on it,
what,
yeah.
there's such amazing amount of great restaurateurs around this area that, I'm not ashamed to say I try to get pointers every meal we go out.
Yeah, we do that in our business.
I think that definitely your restaurant concepts speak to the foodies of the area, and the foodie concept in that sense is just really growing, is that people know what they want, right?
Yes.
And boy, man, I like when my husband and I go on vacation, that's what we do. We go scope out all the restaurants and we like to eat. That's one of our favorite things to do, is just check out the local flair, and we'll go off the beaten path. But that's what I was telling you when we bring people in from out of town, or even just, us a Wednesday night going to go grab something. Hayes is our go-to. And I love the fact that they are taking reservations now. But so here's the trick. You have to call 24 hours prior, and they will not. Trust me, I've tried. They will not sway on that 24. I'm like, they're like, well, you have to call 24 hours.
Travis told
You can
me
text me.
And I was
You can
like,
text me, so,
yeah. And I was like, well,
line.
let's just pretend I've done this before. Let's just pretend I had a time machine and I went back and I was 24 hours like, we're sorry, there's nowhere on the books. But,
Just say the phones were down.
That's right. The phones were down.
No, but we're we've over the years we've tried to we've learned from different things, and it's also for one of the reasons why we did the 24 hours, because then if everybody just got on the wait list, and then it's we're still trying to save some spots for people that don't have a reservation, but it's not such a long wait, and it's trying to find that medium in there to make sure that everybody has a good experience. And it's not easy, but our staff does an amazing job, and they're trying their hardest. I promise you, if you get frustrated, I mean, it's sometimes it's somebody's 16 or 17-year-old daughter that's stressing out at the host stand.
I like the fact that, we were there one time and something went down. I can't remember, like all the fryers or something, like something, you had a catastrophic event. But I like the fact that you came around and you went to each table. It's like, man, I'm so sorry. Is there something I can do for you? It's going to be a little bit longer, but you went and you had that personal touch. And
makes all the difference.
It absolutely does. And there was a question I had too about, Oh shoot! It just fell out of my head.
Well,
like
good.
you,
We
Steve.
both did it. I don't
Yeah,
feel so
there you
bad.
go.
I was going to say what we see a lot in restaurants, but local restaurants, is that when they open up the first couple years, they're just on fire and everything's great. The food is great. And then after a little while, the food gets a little less great and the service gets a little less great. I want to applaud you because
It's never
every
happened,
time I've
yeah.
ever been, the food's been great. The service has been great. Everybody's really friendly. You keeping that, everything's sharp and working all the time, after you've been in the business as long as you've been, I think that's great.
And
that
now they
you're
have new
continuing to do that.
bathrooms. They have new
do
bathrooms.
they? I have to go try
Only
that.
took like 3+ years to do that.
New
So,
bathrooms. I remember what it was. How much of your business comes from the transit business? Comes from people just visiting the area, didn't really know about you? Because I know, like Open Table and those, you have to pay a percentage, right? When you're partnering, I guess, with those. And so, just somebody, because you're in you're not necessarily in a thoroughfare, for somebody just to drive by. How do you measure those metrics, and how do you know?
I mean, our POS system will, guest counts and things like that. But, where we used to use Open Table, but then they were charging us $1 per transaction. And so like we were paying like $2,500 a month, and we're like, oh, we got to
Really?
find another alternative. So we went to Talk, and it's kind of a flat fee. Now we were just having a manager meeting in Buda earlier, and we were talking, and I think Open Table has changed their model, but it was
I've never heard it. What's the other one?
Talk.
I've never. I
TOCK.
use Open Table like almost exclusively,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I've never heard of that one. Yeah.
I mean, it's just another like credit card fees. I mean, it's like, we pay like 14,000 a month just credit card fees, and it's like it's just a cost
It
of doing
never
business.
ends,
No.
does it? If you want to make money, you got to spend money.
Highway
It never
robbery.
ends. But, well, this has been cool, Travis. I've learned a lot about your business and got to know you a little bit, and it's been a lot of fun. And I was just sitting here thinking, I'm hungry. We need to go out to Hayes City Store.
I know. He's fed us a lot because we see Travis all the time. It's kind of when I just want to give you the last minute kudos in the sense that we see you all over the community. We see you in chamber events, and we see you giving donations to local youth events and whatnot. And then you also will feed our fire and police and whenever there's any type of organization. And I just don't think that there's enough people in this world that does that. So, and the fact that you're a mentor to just like a whole group of just little monsters that are out there that need
that will
lift
go
up.
on to be good adults.
Yes.
Well,
good adults.
if I was rough on the, as you say, little monsters,
Yeah.
I was just trying to, it's not personal. I was just trying to because they need to get used to the real world. I mean,
Tough love.
Yeah.
You're a business
it's-
owner. Somebody's got to tell them.
Right. But the most satisfying thing is that when past employees will come back and shake your hand or hug you and say, thank you, you're rough on me, but now I know what you were talking about. And I was kind of
yeah.
naive back then.
You're doing it right if that
yeah.
happens.
Well, I tell you, like I was 16 years old when I first started working for Brad Lomax, and the fact that, all these years later, that man still has an impact on me. You have probably done the same to numerous people. So,
Well, hopefully, I mean, if we can make a difference in one person's lives, I think we've done,
Well, if you feed us, you're going to make a difference. in our lives.
on that note,
Thanks so much.
well,
for
thank
coming
you.
in,
It's my
Travis.
pleasure. So,
Ready to turn your land dreams into reality? Look no further than Capital Farm Credit.
need a loan for your perfect piece of land? Capital Farm Credit is there for you.
Their dedicated team will tailor a loan to fit your unique needs because your dreams are their priority.
Capital Farm Credit, your land, your legacy. Visit capitalfarmcredit.com or Mark Rutledge at 512-892-4425.
Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better.
Capital Farm Credit, an equal credit housing lender.
Nomic Power Solutions, keeping you powered up.
Get to know your local full-service Generac dealer.
Cody and Dylan with Nomic Power Solutions are a veteran-owned, Texas-based Generac dealer and installer.
Offering low monthly payment options, it's never been easier to gain independence from the grid.
Call or text 512-387-4232 or visit nomicpower.com. Follow on Instagram at Nomic Power for updates.
Turnkey service including design, plumbing, electrical, and permits.
They even offer set-it-and-forget-it maintenance plans. Nomic Power Solutions.
Protect your home. Protect your family. Stay ready. Elevate your living experience with M. Elliott Studio, your trusted partner in interior design, registered and licensed by the state of Texas.
You want your home to reflect your personal style and identity. Investing in a well-crafted design doesn't just beautify your home, it enriches your life.
Team principal and owner, Montana Elliott, understands the profound impact of a thoughtfully designed space. From remodeling to full design, M. Elliott Studio is the first step to unlocking your style.
Turn your aspirations into reality. Tailored to your taste and desires, M. Elliott Studio will work to create an environment that embraces your style with style.
Your space, their expertise.
melliotstudio.com 512-781-0224.
This show has been brought to you in part by the real estate pros at the Mallet Integrity Team. When you're looking to buy or sell, you need them on your side. Why settle for less when you can have real estate done right? Give them a call at 512-829-2062 or get more info at malletintegrityteam.com.
You know you like us, so go now to Apple Podcast or Spotify and leave us a review. Why don't ya? We love your feedback and comments. Email us at malletandmichelle@gmail.com.
Thanks for putting up with us.